Today I've come to one of my favourite places in the UK, and it's Anglesey, Hully Island. I grew up here as a young boy, fishing away, catching blennies, catching wrasse, bass and pollock. I love this place, it's such a beautiful part of the country. So it's the middle of January. Normally this time of the year, I'm pike fishing. There's snow on the ground, there's ice on the ground. I can't even remember the last frost we've had. A good friend of mine, he's been catching some nice pollock, even bass and big wrasse. So basically, I've got my onesie on. It's nice and waterproof, nice and warm, although I'm sweating. So let's go on the cliffs and see what we can catch. Robson Green, this is extreme fishing. I want to take the elevator straight back to hell. So I've not just come down here and jumped off this cliff. I know what's down there, I've been down there and I've done that jump a million times. You'd have to be completely stupid to just come down here and throw yourself off not knowing what's down there. Okay, so in this particular area here, over the past has produced some cracking coalfish and pollock. And over the past few years since these have been out, this has been the killer on these rocks. Sand eel. Simple jig head. Basically, I'm going to cast that in, keep it close to the kelp, try and draw them pollock and wrasse, bass, whatever's down there out the kelp. And basically the jig head just goes straight down to the bottom. It's nice and streamlined. That'll go straight down and I'll be twitching that back, letting it drop, twitching it, let it drop, and maybe even cast and retrieve. And there's another method that I've also been using on here for quite a long time, and that's the drop shot method. So basically the drop shot rig is anchored with a simple lead, a simple weight, and that keeps that tight. You'll send that little chap down and you'll twitch that around in the current, in and out the crevices. And to be fair, it doesn't really need that much work. The waves will do it. The braid is that fine and that sensitive. You just slight little twitches on the end of that rod tip, you know, and that'll put action into any lure you put on that offset hook. So below the surface is absolute hell. There's rocks, there's crevices, there's kelp. It's a sea angler's nightmare. So the way around that is a small tip if you don't know it. In sea angling terms, we would call it the rotten bottom. And basically, where your lead would be attached, you would have two granny knots. And at some point, if that got caught, there's a weak point in there and it'll snap. The cheap part, I mean, they're only £1 or wherever. And then you get your lure back. That's the theory anyway. So let's get this down there and see if we can catch a fish.
Anglesey has had some extreme weather over the last few weeks, with waves crashing over the top of the cliffs that Ant has just jumped from. It's oddly warm for January and the storms have really coloured up the water, making the fishing conditions extremely difficult. We think most of the fish have sought shelter in deeper waters, and the ones that are around probably can't even see our bait. We walk what feels like the entire coastline of Anglesey, all the way to South Stack, and we find ourselves on a small point, looking out with nothing but the horizon in front of us. One good thing about this vista is that you can see storms like this coming from miles away.
It's getting late, it's getting cold, I can't even feel my hands. And looking at that lot on the horizon there, that is pretty extreme. I've just seen a bolt of lightning in the centre of that lot and I really don't want to be hanging about, especially with these rods. So I've got another idea. I love Anglesey, it's like a second home to me. And the best part about it is, I always go home with a fish.